y'all, it's Laura and I'm back with Crafty Q&A part 2, and I will announce the winner of September's giveaway at the end of the video. So to start with, I had asked for a lot of questions on my first video in order to do a Crafty part 2, Crafty Q&A part 2, and I got a lot of questions. So I'm really excited to answer these. Some of them are repeats, so I just kind of put them together, and I've created 4 categories that I think kind of sum up what the questions are about. So I have product opinions, finding time and organizing space, style and inspiration, and miscellaneous. Otherwise known as Adele questions. That is Adele to me from Inkie Quill, who I greatly adore and admire. A little bit of a fangirl, gotta admit. So first of all, product opinions. Okay, Laura, have you ever written on fabric? Now this is from Lori Smith. And Lori, I have. They do make fabric markers, and they do pretty well. Other than that, I can't think that I've really written on fabric terribly much, just with those markers. And I've not used fabric on my layouts, so I'm not sure how acid-free it is. Danielle wants to know if there are any mixed media items that I haven't tried but want to, and why. There is. There's one. And I did buy a little kit to try it out, and it is alcohol inks, and it's super, super messy. And I'm really excited to try it, and I might do it on camera if you guys would like to see me experiment with a new mixed media product. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see that. So that is the answer to that question. What are my top 5 mixed media items and why? From Moira. Top 5 mixed media items would definitely be Color Shine. Heidi Swapp Color Shine is definitely up there. I love a good texture paste. Definitely enjoy that. I like Nuvo drops. I'm not sure if they count as mixed media, but I do like Nuvo drops quite a lot. And let's see. I like shimmers. I'm new to shimmers, but I do really like shimmers. And watercolor paint. Those would be my favorite top 5, definitely. Mostly because they're easy. They're easy to use. They don't require a great deal of preparation for them, and I can do them quickly. They don't take a long time to dry, like a lot of things do take a good long time to dry, and I'll use those, but sparingly. I like things that I can use them and fairly quickly get back to scrapping. Now, do you enjoy stamping on your layouts? And if so, what is your favorite stamping company? This is also from Moira. I do stamp on my layouts occasionally. It's not something that I do a lot. My favorite stamping company, I really like the stamps that come in my Felicity Jane kit. I'm not a huge stamper. I should say that up front. I'm not a huge stamper. I don't do it a lot. But I do like the ones that come in the Felicity Jane kits. That would probably be my favorite. The ones that come with the Cocoa Vanilla collection are pretty nice too. They're just a small stamp, and I kind of like that because I don't need a lot of stamps. I don't use them all the time, so having just a little stamp is nice too. So those would be my favorite. Cindy says, I am a beginning mixed media scrapper and would like to know what product you think works best through stencils. That is a very easy answer, Cindy. Modeling paste. Modeling paste is nice and thick. It's also called molding paste, and it's nice and thick, and you can smooth it through the stencil without too much smearing or sliding under the stencil or anything like that. Modeling paste. Which you can get in multiple colors, by the way. I just discovered that myself. Okay, Texas Mama Pest wants to know, what advice would you give someone who wants to start scrapbooking but is not sure where to start? And what supplies would you recommend for a beginner? If you want to start scrapbooking, but you don't know where to start, I would take a look at Pinterest and Instagram and see what kind of styles you like first. If you're looking for something a little bit more simple, then it's fairly easy to kind of pick up things that match that style. For example, if you like the clean look of a white cardstock background with just a little bit of pattern paper and splatter, for example, maybe Sue's Fish style, okay? Little paper layering, but otherwise very clean, then you will know to pick up just white cardstock, plenty of white cardstock, because that's going to be your backgrounds, and just a few pattern papers that grab you, that you walk down that Crafty aisle, or you look in the website and they go, ooh, aren't I pretty? And that's how you pick your papers. As for tools, very basic tools, I would get a good sharp pair of scissors. I like my gold handled ones from American Crafts. They're super sharp and they cut a nice clean line. If you're concerned about being perfectly straight, look into an inexpensive trimmer. Those are pretty easy to find for $15. If you use a coupon, you can usually get it half price or close. And adhesive. The easiest adhesive that I have found to work with is double-sided tape. That's what I use. I use double-sided tape all the time. I use a tonic glue pen, which is just a wet glue inside of a fine tip bottle. And between those two, that handles most of my needs. So I think for a beginner scrapper, that's really all you need. If you want to try a kit, I would try, for a beginning scrapper who doesn't know all the techniques and stuff, I think that I would go with maybe Felicity Jane or the Secret Not Secret Kit Club, because she can help you, Christina can help you work out something that you like. You can tell her, well, I kind of like this pink paisley line, and she can put together a kit. And you can tell her, oh, I love lots of paper, but just a few embellishments, and she can meet your needs there. Or I like lots of embellishments and just a little bit of paper, and she can meet your needs there. So definitely check them out. I also think Felicity Jane has a nice balance of small portions of things for you to try. Like you'll get alphabet stickers every month, you'll get a stamp every month, you'll get different embellishments every month, different kinds of embellishments. You'll get ephemera that you can try out, and maybe not subscribe to a kit, but just buy one and experiment, because experimentation is going to be the biggest helper for you as a new scrapbooker. Try things out, don't spend a lot of money, but try things out and just see what you like, because you may find that, oh, well, I love this white cardstock background, but I want to try pattern paper backgrounds, or I want to try other color cardstock backgrounds. And having something like a kit that has more of those options for you will let you experiment. So I really think trying things out is absolutely going to be the best way to know how to do that. So the next question is, what is your least favorite scrapbooking trend? The one you wish would go away? All right, this is from a crafty person's point of view, and I do not like the exotic animals, the cacti, and the very negative themed trends that I've seen lately in scrapbooking. And one brand that I love, but I don't think I could use, is Amy Tan. I love a lot of her designs, but realistically on my pages, they're very hard to use. And, you know, tigers, cactus, I live in the Mississippi. We don't have cactus. And tigers do not roam freely here. I could maybe put one of those on like a zoo layout, but I'm a fairly literal scrapbooker, and so strange thing. You know what? Paige Evans had a giant vintage couch in one of her collections, and I was like, what am I gonna do with the giant vintage couch? So it's things like that that I kind of struggle to use or don't use and pass on to someone who maybe else can use them. I tend to stick to basic shapes: florals, circles, stars, Diamonds if I'm feeling, you know, frisky. And hexagons. I like hexagons. Hexagons are fun. I need to play with those more because I like how they block together quite nicely. So that would be my answer. Just the weird elements that they put in scrapbooking. What is my least favorite scrapbook item? Eyelets. Haven't used eyelets in a long time. Really glad they're not a trend at the moment. From something that is currently a trend that a lot of people use, least favorite, I would say pom-poms. Not a fan of pom-poms. I can make them work, but I don't love them. They're kind of a weird trim to choose. So I don't love pom-poms. That's what I'm gonna say. Okay, which craft tool is the biggest time saver for you? My scissors, without a doubt. My very sharp scissors save me so much time. I don't like pulling out my trimmer unless I have to. I generally don't care if it's perfectly straight cut, and I can generally get it pretty close. So I would say a very sharp pair of scissors saves me a ridiculous amount of time. All right, the next category is finding time and organizing space. I have about 5 questions here asking me how I find time to scrapbook with 5 kids. Someone mentioned they homeschool as well. And here's the thing. My husband and I have kind of an unspoken deal, and he is the cub master for my kids' scouting troop and pack, whatever they're called. And so he is gone 2 nights a week at meetings. He is camping once a month and 2 weeks in the summer. It's a lot. So our deal is that he gets to do all of these fun scout events. This is his hobby. He loves scouting. And so he gets to do all of the scouting stuff, and I get to scrapbook about as much as I want. So it's a pretty good trade-off for us. There are some weekends that I just don't get anything done because I'm home with the twins and sometimes 4 out of 5 kids, and he's gone. So I don't get much scrapping those weekends, but during the week, my kids are in school, and so I have a little bit of time that I can do during the week. I do still have to do some housework. I do still have to take some of my kids to therapy on different days of the week, and so those things do happen. But leading into the next question, which asks, how long does it take to make an average layout? It only usually takes me about an hour-ish to do a layout, not including maybe fussy cutting or stitching, but generally it only takes me about an hour to do a layout. So in one evening, I could knock out 3 layouts, 4 layouts if I'm really motivated. And so if I'm recording all of them, I can get 4 videos out of one night. So while it seems like, oh, she's scrapping every day, I'm really not. I do scrapbook a lot, but it's really not every night. And as my kids are getting older, my twins are 5 and they're my youngest, I do find that I am able to scrapbook a little bit more while they're running around playing or watching TV or whatever they want to do. So it's balance. It's balance. And let me tell you, in the summer, I get a lot less done than in the fall and winter. So there's that. Okay, the next question. What is your favorite time of day to scrap? My favorite time of day to scrap is at night. I am a night owl. I would prefer to get up at noon and stay up till 2 a.m. That is my preferred time schedule. However, that does not translate well when you have 5 kids. And so generally what I do is I get up at around 6:30 to help my husband, and the 2 of us get all of the kids ready and out the door. Very lucky that he is so helpful. And then I usually have a few hours in the morning to myself, and I'll try to scrap or I'll try to get the housework done in the morning so that I can scrap later. And I'm much more productive at night because I have ADHD. First thing in the morning, I'm not terribly focused, and it takes a while for my brain to settle in and just kind of get into the groove of the day. And that usually involves caffeine at some point. So once I've had some caffeine and I am a little bit more focused. We've usually made it into the late afternoon at least. And so I prefer late afternoon, evening, night scrapping, and I do find myself the most inspired at that time. And also when the house is quiet. I mean, it is hard to scrap when you've got kids running around screaming. So, I mean, there's that too. So the next question is, do you scrapbook in segments throughout the day, or do you set aside time for scrapbooking every day or just a couple days a week? It depends on how motivated I am, but quite often I will sit down and just scrap and just go scrapping for a while. But if I have to stop and come back to it, that's not an issue for me. I can leave it. I try to like finish up whatever my brain's currently processing that I wanted to do next, and then try to find like a stopping place and walk away. Because you have to. I mean, your kids need you sometimes. My husband needs me sometimes. I can't just sit there for hours sometimes. So I'll just walk away. I don't schedule it though. It's not a matter of me saying, okay, this is scrappy time from 2 to 5. I'm not a planner person. I don't plan things. It's not something I'm comfortable with. I have trouble maintaining it, and I consider it boring, so I don't like doing it. So no, I don't schedule that time. The next question is, how many pages do you average on a month or a year? Couple hundred, usually around 300 for the year. I probably do, I want to say 30-ish a month, because I don't necessarily scrap every day, but I can do 3 to 4 layouts a night if I want to. So I would say average about 300 a year. I know that sounds like a lot. My daughter wants to know how many albums that you have. This is from Crystal from Pineapple Papers. I have a lot of albums, as you can see behind me. This represents probably 30-ish or so. They're not all full. Actually, quite a few of them are new and empty, like this one. So I would say about half of these are either empty or in progress. So I've probably finished about 15, roughly, but a lot of them are in progress. Which leads into another question that said, do I scrap one album at a time? Do I go in order? The answer to that question is no. I do usually work on 2 years at a time, and then I do throw in randomly pictures that I love of my kids that are current and put those into their albums. They are stored in order chronologically or by child, and so that's the keeping them organized part. But as far as making them, I make whatever I want, and generally I like to work from kits or page kits that I've pulled together from my stash, and then I just find photos that match those papers. That's kind of my process. The next question was, how do you decide? Okay, a lot of people wanted to know, how do I decide which pictures go in which albums? Like, for example, I have mentioned that my kids have their own albums. Okay, so this pink section here is for Sophia. This purple section is for Olivia. This blue section behind me is for Joseph. This one over here is Chloe's, and this one over here is Alex's. And here's how it works. The chronological albums are behind me, and in these albums, I put what happens throughout the year. And if it involves the whole family or just me or my husband, they go in these albums. The family albums is what I call them, okay? If the picture or the event involves only one child, if there is one kid or the focus of the story that I'm telling is on one kid, it'll go in their albums. That's how I decide where they go. Now, I do try to limit myself to about 5 to 7 layouts per year per kid. That way they don't end up with like 100 albums when they're 18. I want to give these albums to my children when they're adults. These albums, the family albums, they will stay here. These are mine until I die. So these are mine, these are theirs. And so that's how I kind of balance it. I try to put the important stories and pictures in their albums that is just about them, because those will belong to them someday. Now, next question. How do you store older collections versus stash in a small space? So I have mentioned that I scrapbook in my room. Now my room is not necessarily small, but I don't have a dedicated craft room. And I keep collections together as long as possible. And even once I've used up a collection, I will generally keep it with the designer. So I have a set of drawers that has designers specified. So I have a Paige Evans drawer, I have a Chamel drawer, I have a Pink Fresh drawer, I have a, let's see, well, after that giant warehouse box, I have a Jelly Bean Soup drawer now. But that's kind of how I store things by collections. I try to keep the designer, because they tend to use the same colors, guys. When Paige Evans uses navy in her collections, it's usually the same tone of navy. So if I have some pick-me-up left over and I have some older collection that has a navy, they likely coordinate. So that's why I do that. As for things that don't go in a collection, I do have them grouped by item type. So I have pattern paper together, cardstock together, wood veneer together, tags together, things like that are stored by type. And that's just the easiest way to do it. I do have this lovely Kallax behind me to store things in. I also have some of those similar cubes from Michaels, and I have those with drawers and shelves and stuff, and that's my main storage, honestly. I do have a fairly new craft room tour if you'd like to check that out. That will be helpful for you. Okay, now it says, what other hobbies do you have besides paper crafting, and are you going to do videos for them? I do some other things, but not on a level that I feel confident enough to share them. I do paint, but it's not like I'm a great painter. I paint because it's relaxing. The intent is not to really create something that I'm going to sell or share. It's just something I want to enjoy getting messy. That is why I paint. I also sew. Now those I usually do for projects or for Christmas presents or things like that, is the sewing, like cross stitching, things like that. I do write. I have written a book and a number of poems over the years. I started writing in middle school and have been published minorly in a small literary magazine when I was a kid, and would love to publish my book someday, but we'll see. I have to edit it. It's written. I just haven't edited it, and it takes a very long time to edit. So, will I share videos on things like that? I do art journal as well. I don't know, guys. I don't think that I would, honestly, because I'm not as confident with those hobbies. Scrapbooking, card making, sure, I will share with you guys all about that. Mixed media is an ongoing learning process for me, and as I figure things out, I share it with y'all in the Mixed Media 101. That's my way of experimenting with you guys and sharing the things that I've learned about those products, and hopefully they help you too. So there's that question. Okay. I'd like to know how you will be documenting your December. This one's tricky. I haven't decided if I'm going to do a December daily or like journal your Christmas, which is telling the stories of Christmas, make past Christmases and things like that. It'll probably be more December daily style, but I haven't decided if it's going to be truly daily, because while we do have a lot of events in December, doing December daily last year was a little bit stressful for me because I felt like I had to take a picture of something important or something worth documenting every single day. And December's already pretty crazy for us, so I may just do a 6x8 December album and not worry about the daily part of it and just do those types of things. Let me know what you think below. I probably, like I said, it wouldn't be a daily thing, I don't think. I don't think I could maintain that. I struggled last year. I tried and I struggled last year to do December daily videos. So let me know what you think. The other option is I could do daily, but I would have to do real-time videos. They'd be pretty short because 6x8 is pretty small. They'd probably be around 20 minutes, probably. So let me know if you'd like to see real-time December daily videos, or if I should just do sped up, events as they happen in my album. It will be 6x8 though. I do have a beautiful Felicity Jane album that I plan on using. So there's that. Okay, am I going to continue making flip throughs of my albums? Yes! I just did a live one on Friday, so definitely go check that out if you haven't seen it already. And I think I'm going to continue to do that. You guys really seem to enjoy the live flip through, chatting with me and me telling you the stories of some of the photos as I got to important ones and kind of where the products came from and things like that. It does take a little bit longer, but it did seem like people really enjoyed that, so I will do that in the future. Do you do traveler's notebooks? Do you have one for each of your kids? I do have traveler's notebooks for each of my kids, and they're completely random. One of them has a completely upside down layout because I wasn't paying attention when I taped it in. So they're very random. They're not in chronological order. They're just, I have extra pictures sometimes of my kids doing something really cute, and I pop that into their traveler's notebook and just tell a little story about them or just talk about what they were doing. You know, I just think it's kind of fun to share those stories with the kids. And they're a little bit more manageable for little kids to flip through and look at. I just make sure to use a lot of adhesive so the stuff doesn't fall out of them, and good to go. And where are you from? I live in Mississippi, North Mississippi to be specific. We're about 30 minutes south of Memphis, and it's interesting. I grew up in Michigan, and I was born in Texas, so you may hear me slip in and out of accent from time to time because I started out in Texas, left Texas when I was 2, so I was talking, had a pretty thick accent. Moved up to Michigan, picked up a lot of that Midwestern accent, and then moved down here to Mississippi, and I've been here in Mississippi for 13 years. So yeah, I've picked up some of that accent back up as well. So it's an interesting mix. My accent is an interesting mix of the three. But that is where I'm from. Style and inspiration. I would like to know what inspires you the most. Do you use sketches, mood boards, challenges, or something else? What inspires me the most are seeing other people's layouts. Quite often I'll look on Pinterest or Instagram and just kind of flip through, and then when something catches my eye, I'll kind of stop and look at it for a while, and usually an idea will pop in my head. And honestly, 90% of the time, the idea has nothing to do with the layout that I'm looking at. It's just my brain processing and thinking, and then it says, oh, we should try this. And so then I'll make a layout using that. And if I am like very specifically scrap lifting someone or using a sketch, I will tell you, and I will post a picture of it and make sure that that person who created it gets credit because it was their idea. Otherwise, it's just my brain having fun. I do like challenges. I love to challenge myself. And I follow Crop over at the Secret Not Secret Kit Club every month where they have lots of challenges. I set up a challenge in my Facebook group, which is called Scrapbook All the Pictures. And that is another one that I pick it simple. It's something simple because a lot of these challenges that people put up are really detailed and complicated. I don't want to tell you how to make your layout. I just want you to include something different, something that maybe you wouldn't normally include. And I think that's a little easier to manage. It could still be your style, but just adding in something small to fit in with the challenge. So that is my inspiration most often. Do I use sketches occasionally? Sometimes. Not often. I'm not very inspired by black and white pictures. I'm very visual as a person, a visual learner, and black and white sketches do not inspire me. I like to see sketches that also have layouts that their design team or someone has done using the sketch. That is extremely helpful for me, and I use that quite a lot. Next question, how has your style changed from when you started scrapbooking, and would I redo layouts? First up, no, I won't redo layouts. I have thought about it, though, especially in my wedding album. My wedding album, which I have flipped through on here, is very old. It's from 2008, and it's old style. It's old school, and I actually am considering doing some layouts in a new scrapbook album of my favorite pictures from my wedding and telling little stories, because in my original one it was just documenting the day and just had like the place, the time, the people, that's it. And I think I'd like to do some stories from my wedding, because oh boy, there's plenty. And that maybe documenting it from a different perspective. So I would be re-scrapbooking the pictures, but I wouldn't taking apart the layout. I'll leave the layouts as they were, just maybe re-scrap the pictures. I will do that. Has my style changed? My style has changed a lot just in the last year, guys. If you go back and look at my first 30 or so videos, you will see that I used a much more simplistic style a year ago than I did now. My style is always changing, ever changing. I am constantly experimenting, constantly trying out new things. You will see me do styles that are complete opposites from each other. I am not afraid of trying something and failing or just seeing if I like it. I love to experiment. It's just part of my ADHD. It keeps me inspired, it keeps me motivated, and so that is why you will see me switch styles quite often. Sometimes I use mixed media, sometimes I don't. And I'll often go through stages where you'll see me use mixed media a lot, and then all of a sudden I stop and I'll just use pattern paper a lot. So it's gonna happen. The next question, oh no, I would like to know, Janet, I would like to know, what would your secondary color combo be if pink, purple, and teal did not exist? No. I would probably pick navy and coral, maybe? Yeah, navy and coral. I do like a nice golden yellow, so maybe something in there too. I do like that. So that would probably be my secondary favorite colors. Okay, next. My question is, who or what is your major influence in creating your own style? I am, of course, obsessed with Adele from Inkie Quill. By obsessed, I mean I watch all of her videos. I don't like stalk her or anything. But she is definitely an inspiration. That said, I do really enjoy watching Tracy Reed as well. She is very inspiring. But I think experimentation is the biggest drive to my evolution of style, if you will. And yeah, I think you just got to keep trying different things. So the next question is, how did you fine-tune your page layouts to get to the level you are today and to have the confidence to be on a design team? Well, Amy, I would say fine-tuning is a matter of details, of paying attention to those tiny details that make a page feel finished. Things like enamel dots or sequins, splattering, whatever it is for you that puts those really small details into a little scattering off to one side or another. Anything that helps lead your eye through the layout, that gives it a sense of balance. So if you have a cluster up in the top left of your layout, you may want another in the bottom right. So you want to try to find some way to balance out your page and then including those small details, and that will definitely help you fine-tune your creations to something that you're more confident with. As for design teams, Cheeky Studio is the first design team that I've been on in a long, long time. And I do think you have to start from the bottom. You have to start from the smaller shops and groups, smaller places, and then try to move up to some of the bigger design teams. At least that's my experience. Maybe not for everybody. Some people can jump right onto the big design teams. But in my experience, start small. And that's also too a good thing, because you can adjust yourself to the expectations of the smaller shops and kind of prepare yourself for the expectations of a larger design team. That's just my experience. So we're on the third page, guys. We're almost done. I'm sorry if you hear any noise in the background. My kids are playing quietly. So I can get this done for you guys and out today. Okay, so have you done Project Life at all? Yes, I have done some Project Life. I have several pocket page layouts up here, but I will say that I'm not current on it. I'm trying to do a monthly pocket page for the current year, as well as catching up 2015. And I just do a once a month page for Project Life because I couldn't keep up with weekly if I wanted to. There's no way. There's just no way. Was it hard for you? It was at first. it was at first to do project life. I wasn't used to pocket pages and I fought them hard for quite a while. But they're quick and they're easy and you can get a lot of pictures on one page. So I've come around to it. How does your hubby feel about you scrapping in your room? That's a great question. And do you sleep well after working in that space all day? I don't have any issues with sleeping in my bedroom after scrapping in my bedroom. Once in a while, my brain will still be trying to create things, and I just find if I write down those ideas, I can kind of blank them out of my brain. My husband actually prefers that I scrap in our room because he can sit on our bed and chat with me while I'm scrapping, and he rather likes that, to be in the same room with me. And I think when I did have my own scrap room upstairs, he didn't love that because I was all the way upstairs and he kind of felt like I wasn't really part of the household and I was isolated and he had to go all the way upstairs to see me. So he didn't really like that. He kind of likes that I'm down here in our room, so he's cool with it. This question from Michelle says, I know you said that you make albums for each of your kids. Are they themed albums or chronological? And do you make identical layouts for your twins? I did some, not identical, I did some similar styled layouts for my twins' first year albums. Here's one right here. And I did a flip through of one of them because they are very similar. And this is an 8x8 album. It's very simple in style. And I did use some same formats between her album and her sister's album, but they're not identical. They have different color schemes. They have different photos, obviously. And yeah, I made them very specifically for and about each of them individually. As for their other albums, they are chronological, but I don't scrap chronologically, so I just put them in whatever order that they go in. I'll add an extra page in, which is why I use the D-ring albums, so I can do that. I can just add an extra page in the middle if I need to, or the beginning, and it's fine. So that's how I do that. Her next question was, this is Jenny. Her next question, I'm sorry, not Jenny, this is Michelle, was talking about creative memories. Do you still like doing layouts with multiple pictures, or do you do one per layout? I do a mix of both, and quite often what I will do is have a 2-page spread that's not identical, but a 2-page spread that's coordinated and has a 1-page, 1-photo layout as like a highlight page, and then the second page is either a pocket page or a multi-photo layout, which has all of the rest of the photos for the event on there too. And I just find that adds some balance for me personally and gives me some variety in my album. Okay, next question. Which layouts do you put into your kids' albums? I did go over that one already. How do you decide what to scrapbook and what not to scrapbook? That is just a matter of preference, honestly. I do a lot of event scrapbooking for our annual albums, Christmas, Easter, etc. In the kids' albums, it's really just what's important to them at the time. I try to pick photos that identify where they are in that year. What are they doing? What are they interested in? What funny stories have happened and what photos kind of illustrate that. That's pretty much all that I scrapbook, to be quite honest. I have done baby albums for each of the kids. I have done some December dailies. I've done 2 up there. You can't see them, but they're up there. And I have flips of those on my channel as well if you'd like to check those out. But I do a lot of event scrapbooking because I'm trying to catch up sort of from 2015, and I'm trying to hit the highlights is the idea at this point. Now, when I get caught up, I may do more everyday photos in the annual albums, and there may be more. I'm not really sure. We'll have to wait and see. But I do a lot of everyday moment scrapbooking in the traveler's notebooks. So you will see a lot of those in the traveler's notebook layouts. Next question. Do you work in one album at a time or several at the same time? How do you finally finish an album? I do work usually at 2 years at a time just to give myself some variety, but I put them away chronologically. And if I'm getting close to finishing a year, I will put my focus on finishing that year, and I'll pull those photos out specifically and put them on my desk so I see them and I'm inspired to go ahead and scrap them and get them done to finish up that album. I do like that satisfaction of finishing an album or a year. For me, it's usually 2 or 3 albums per year, and that's very motivating to get that finished, and also I get to flip through it for you guys, which is also really exciting for me to get to share my work. So the next question is, do you scrap the same party or events for each child, and do you include school projects or grades? I scrap their birthdays every year for each kid, but I mean, I wouldn't do like Easter pictures of each of them individually for their album. I just put those in the family albums. This is more like who they are in that year and less of this happened in this year. You know, that's more for the family albums for me. What's the other part of that question? School projects. I did include a lot of school projects when we were homeschooling, but to be honest with you, my kids don't really bring home very many school projects. Our school doesn't really seem to do a lot of that, or if they do, they stay at school. So I don't really have a lot of that. I do have some of my kids doing performances or events at school, which we've attended and take pictures of, and those would go in their individual albums. The next question, do you have a scrap budget? Sorta? I have an amount that I am okay with spending each month, and I do try to stay within that amount, but if I go over, I don't beat myself up for it. I don't think I could ever do a freeze necessarily. I could lower my budget and attempt to do that. At the moment, I've just bought a lot of stuff recently, and I've kind of mentally told myself no more except for December daily stuff. Or not so daily. I'm going to call it December not so daily. But until I decide on a December album kit, I'm not planning on buying anything else, but I did just get a giant order from the Secret Not Secret Kit Club that y'all will see me unbox sometime this month. But yeah, I have one. I would like to know if journaling is hard for you. Journaling is hard for me sometimes. It depends on the topic. If it's a very emotional topic, I struggle to share that journaling. I will sometimes put it in a hidden tag or something like that. But I don't journal on every layout. And if I do want to journal on that layout, I do it right then. I don't save it for later because I picked that picture for a reason. Sometimes it's just because it caught my eye, but I try to at least put down the details of who's in the picture. If it's not immediate family, especially what the date is important to me because I'm going to file it in here chronologically. So the date is good. I just do month and year. And then I'll sometimes say a little something about it. Sometimes my thoughts about it. You know, if it's a cute picture of my kids, I'll just talk about how much I love them and how cute they are. So that's pretty limited on journaling. If it's something a little deeper, it is harder to do, but I do kind of commit myself to go ahead and do it when I start scrapping that picture. Okay, next question is, what is the most creative way you found to fix or hide mistakes like ink spots, paper tears, etc.? Ooh, that's a tricky question. Embellishments are the easiest way to hide something like that. I think it really depends on what we're talking about. If it's a, you know, like a color shine splotch that went a little crazy, then yeah, I'll put an enamel dot over it. Or sometimes I just ignore it. I'll be honest. I have some layouts that have mistakes on them, and I just ignore them. And move on, because it's part of the creative process, and you just learn that next time maybe don't splatter quite that hard. The next question is, how long have you been scrapping? I have been scrapping around 18 years on and off. I haven't scrapped continuously for 18 years, kind of on and off for 18 years. This last year has been a major ramp up in my scrapping overall. I didn't normally scrap this often as I do now, and it certainly didn't share my work very often either. So this last year has been a big uptick in productivity. Next question. I have a huge stack of scraps and would like to know how you tackle your paper scraps. I use them. I don't keep paper scraps. I don't have a scrap bin. I used to punch them into shapes that I could use for DIY embellishments, but honestly, I've come to a point where if I can't cut it into a 3x4 card and I don't love the paper, I pitch it. If it's smaller than that, I pitch it. If I love the paper, then I might try to right away punch it and use it on a DIY embellishment. But otherwise, I'm gonna pitch it, guys. I have too much stash to sit here and worry about every little scrap of paper. I'm not gonna do it. I will try to use as much as I can though. Like you see on my grab bag challenges, I use the littlest piece of paper. I try to kill my kits to the point where all that is left is little useless pieces. And that's really the goal. But I consider a kit dead when I cannot make even a Project Life page out of it. That's generally my goal. Next question. Now we've moved on to the miscellaneous section. The first question is, have you ever spoken to Adele in person or via email? And I have not. I'm not close with Adele. I admire her work. I am one of her patrons on Patreon. I do love watching her real-time videos and seeing her experiment with things. And I do find her very inspiring. Follow her vlog. Mr. and Mrs. Rad, and I love seeing that little peek in her life. I'm just fascinated by her. I think she's awesome. But no, I have not talked to her. I do not believe she is subscribed to my channel, but I could be wrong. I can't see all of who is subscribed. Some people are on private, so I can't see that, but I don't think she is. I'm a pretty small channel compared to her. What layout are you most proud of? I have a layout of my son Joseph, who is playing with trains, and it's using one of Coco Vanilla's boy lines, and it just looks really cool. I did it on here. It's one of the videos. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Something to do with trains, I think. But it was a really fun layout. Lots of stars, just lots of everything on it, and I really like it. Next question. If you could collaborate with Zoe at Coco Vanilla, what would your collection look like? Oh my gosh, would that be amazing? I think there would be butterflies en masse, there would be florals en masse, there would be purple, there would be teal, there would be pink, and I probably would want to include some very girly dinosaurs. I know that sounds a bit odd for Coco Vanilla, but I would love to see a very girly dinosaur themed collection. So I would love to do that. And I would love to see Zoe's take on dinosaurs. I think that would be amazing. Next question. Do you go away to retreats? If so, where and how often? I do occasionally, very rarely. I went to the first one ever with the Scrap Gals, and I do have a little recap of that on here as well if you want to check that out. It was a lot of fun. She also asked, how much do you bring with you? I bring a truckload. I didn't take very much and kind of regretted it, actually, because at the beginning of the retreat, you don't have a whole lot to work with yet. You haven't taken the classes, you don't have all the materials yet, and I was super bored in the first part because I didn't bring stuff to do. I just brought my tools. So yeah, I would bring a little bit more, but no, I wouldn't bring a truckload. I don't need a truckload. If you look at my layouts, I work very well from kits, so just bringing a kit would probably have been fine. And the last question on here asks me about Patreon. I have no intention of joining Patreon as a creator anytime soon, if at all. Honestly, guys, I don't have the time and I don't have the commitment ability, the ability to commit to Patreon. It would be a part-time job, and I can't do that right now, and I don't know that I would do that. That would be a lot. It would be a lot to take on, and so don't expect to see that in my near future or maybe at all, because it's really not my style. Also, if I decided to make this more of a lucrative thing for me, I would more likely go along the line of creating some classes that are available to you if you want them, but it would be like a one-time thing. You know, like you could take the class if you wanted to and learn more about that thing, but it wouldn't be like an ongoing subscription thing. I will say I am a Patreon of Adele's, and I have been considering it for a couple of others because I do love their work, and I love to encourage creators. Don't get me wrong. I support Patreon as a idea, and I think it's a great way for some people to make their hobbies more lucrative and make them really work for them so that they can create that content for their followers. But for me, that would be a lot of commitment, and I don't think I could maintain it. I have 5 kids, guys. There's no way that I could maintain that. I see what Adele's putting out. I see what some others are putting out. I could not maintain that level of commitment of time and energy and ideas even right now. So I will just continue to put out videos for you guys just as I feel like it, because it's fun. And that's about all I want out from it right now. So now that we've had this crafty Q&A and it's over with, it's time for the announcement of the giveaway winner. And here it is.